Hi, I'm Owen, the host of the Australian Finance Podcast. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BetaShares, one of the leading providers of ETFs here in Australia. Serving thousands of financial advisors and over 1 million investors, BetaShares manages tens of billions of dollars on behalf of investors right across the country. I'm proud to partner with BetaShares on the Australian Finance Podcast, Australia's premier financial podcast, because there is great alignment in the long-term philosophy shared by both businesses. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast.
Hi, I'm Gemma Mitchell and welcome to this bonus episode of the Australian Finance Podcast. So usually I'm joined by Owen or some other guest, but today this is all about a short, sharp and I guess how-to kind of style episode. So it's designed to give you something actionable in less time than it'll take for you to get your morning coffee. We're going to sprinkle these bonus episodes in where we can around the other content that we usually do. Owen did the last one on getting started investing and it was brilliant, but it went for about 25 minutes. So he has challenged me to try and keep this one under 10 minutes. And if you know both of us, you know we do love to have a chat. So that's probably going to be a little bit challenging, but we'll see how we go. So today I'm going to walk you through 5 steps to getting sorted with your cash flow. Now, let's dive straight in because I am on the clock. So number 1, it's to get comfy with the word budget or name it something else completely. But a budget is literally a plan for your money. It's telling your money where you want to spend it. So it doesn't need to mean that you are being cheap or frugal or you're cutting out all the fun of your life. A budget is literally telling your money where to go rather than you wondering where it all went. So your mindset around this actually matters. Step number 2 is to pick your method. So initially getting started, this might be paper and pen. You might be a spreadsheet nerd like me. You might want to pick up an online app. Your banking app may already be categorizing different things for you. Here, a longtime sponsor of the show is Pocketsmith, so you could be using them. But I think the easiest way to get started, if you've never done this before, is just grab a pen and paper. You can get fancy later. But whatever you do, it needs to be realistic and sustainable. So there's no point doing something that you're not going to stick with. So you can have the best spreadsheet in the world, but if you're never going to look at it again after you've set it up, there's no point. So make sure it's something that you will stick with and that works for your lifestyle. Step 3 to sorting out your cash flow is to gather all the info. So this is where we pretty much just want to write down all of your income and all of your expenses. There's 2 ways you can do this. You can draw a line in the sand and kind of project or predict your expenses going forward. Or you might look back through your bank statements or use something like Pocketsmith where you are getting them to kind of see where you've spent money in the past. You might actually just use a little bit of both. So if I'm getting people like clients to do this, writing down pen and paper, all your expenses that you think will come up throughout the year, maybe there's some on there that you're not sure of, and that's when you'll go and look through your bank statements. But you just want to tally up all of your expenses and all of your income to see what's actually left, if there's a surplus or if maybe you're spending a little bit more than what's coming in. The goal with this is to know where your money's going, and then you can start, either giving surplus money a different job, like going towards goals, or know where that you need to kind of be cutting out some expenses. Step number 4 is, when sorting out your cash flow, is to make sure that your bank accounts are actually supporting this plan or your budget. So you might need like a spending account where discretionary money comes from. You might need a separate savings account for different goals. You might need a bills account where money sits throughout the year for bigger bills that come up throughout the year. So this is really, really important that however you want to categorize things, that they actually reflect in your bank accounts. So this is like grouping expenses together so they have a dedicated bank account. So you're not spending, discretionary money or grocery money out of things that are being set aside for big expenses that might come up later in the year. So having bank accounts that actually support what you're trying to do and where you're trying to spend your money is really, really important. Next, we have step 5 is to automate as much as possible. Like with finance, if you can automate as much as possible, it is going to make your life so much easier. Now, that doesn't mean set and forget. You still need to check on things, make sure things are ticking along okay. Your expenses are going to change. But if you can automate, your savings, money going to your bills account, these different things, it's going to make life a lot easier and less manual work for you to accidentally forget and when we get caught up in our busy lives. So you still have to have those check-ins, but if you can automate, regular bills, regular money going into different types of accounts to top them up, I think that generally helps a lot of people. So to recap on my 5 recommended steps to get you started with a budget or your cash flow plan, whatever you want to call it. Number 1 is don't actually be scared of the word budget. Budget is just a tool to help you, so call it whatever you want, but don't be scared of that actual word. Next one is to pick the best way for you to do it. If you're starting out with pen and paper, if you want to use a spreadsheet, app, whatever that is. Step 3 was to gather all the information, so your income and your expenses, and see what you're actually working with. This can be scary, it can be confronting, but it is very, very important, and that's where all the power comes from. Then you can see, where you need to focus if you've got surplus or if you need to do some work on where you can potentially cut some things out. Step 4 was to make sure your bank accounts are actually supporting where you want to spend your money, and you're categorizing things that is being put into different kind of sections to make your day-to-day spending as easy as possible to stay on these kind of guardrails. And tip 5 was to automate where you can. So not set and forget, but just automating things to help you with the day-to-day. So one last tip before I go, it would be that a budget or your cash flow plan, it needs to evolve with you. So you need to keep trying new things, making small adjustments, tweaks until you find what works for you. And what works at one point in your life might be very, very different within a year or two, depending on how your situation changes. Like if you think about living at home and having minimal expenses to then having your first rental property to down the track, maybe having a mortgage, a family, like life is going to change. So whatever is happening right now, find what works for you now and just be prepared to change that approach as life changes. But the goal with a cash flow plan or a budget is to have things running so well that eventually you forget it's payday and things are just working really, really seamlessly. But that doesn't happen overnight, and it takes work, and it still takes checking in as well. So this should be something that is an empowering tool, not something that's something to be feared or restrictive, I guess, is probably the most common thing people think of when they hear the word budget. So in the show notes, I'll put some extra resources, some free courses that we have through the Rask education platform that might help. Recently, Owen and I did a full episode on budgeting, cash flow, where I talk about different bank accounts and all of that kind of thing. So this is just your quick how-to guide, but I'll link that episode. So if you do want to listen to a whole hour episode, you can. I could talk about budgets and cash flow planning all day. And if you are enjoying these bite-sized episodes and, they're much easier for you to fit in your day, you could check out the summer series that we put out in January, which was a series of 10, maybe 12, just really short, under 20-minute kind of episodes. So that's a really good either quick refresh or just something to keep you a little bit motivated between having time to listen to the big ones. But thank you for listening. I'm Gemma Mitchell, and I will catch you at the next one of these.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.